Assalamu alaikum. In the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah. And I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. Welcome to another edition of Let Us Make Man. I am your host, Brother Kadeem Amir Muhammad. We got a hot show for you today. We got our brother all the way from New Orleans, Louisiana, our
Yeah,
great brother and
yeah.
minister, Brother Willie Muhammad. And I know, Brother Willie, we can't give you the applause, but we'll give you our applause. Let's welcome my brother.
Uh, no
Round of
need,
applause.
man.
Praise Allah. But listen,
No need.
Uh,
All praises
really
due to
quick,
Allah.
we're going to go around and introduce, as we do every week, our hosts. We're going to start all the way out in North Carolina by way of New York, by way of Atlanta, our brother Ahmed Bayar.
yes,
Hey,
yes,
yes.
yes. Good evening, world. Good evening, world. My name is Ahmed Bia. I'm a mentor, community organizer, helping the cause of truth to our people. There's so much more I could say about myself, but we're going to move on to the next person. Thank you, greetings, and welcome to our podcast.
Praise be to Allah. Always the modest one, man. So much to say about yourself. We want to know more about you, brother. Praise be to Allah. Hey, listen, this next brother, he is the rock of the team. This man truly, I'm telling y'all, he really, truly keeps us grounded. If there were no brother Jackie Muhammad, I promise y'all, we'll be some more radicals, burn this crap down tight, brothers.
Right, right.
Podcast, but this is the bedrock. This man keep us straight. He like the papa of the show. Our man, all the way from Orlando, Florida, brother Jackie Muhammad.
Yeah.
Peace to the gods, man. Welcome to our podcast, man. It's so good to see you all. We made it another week.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
to God. Praise be to Allah.
Right.
All right, my man. Thank you, brother Jackie.
Yes,
And the
sir.
man behind the scenes that pull it all together. He make
Oh,
all the phone calls. He get the information. He do everything we ask him to do. Our guy, brother Kawi Muhammad.
are we?
Assalamu alaikum, family. Peace and blessings to
Islam.
everybody. Thank you for joining the podcast. I hope you enjoy this podcast as much as I will. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Wa
You know,
alaikum
tonight
salam.
we're going to be talking about black on black crime, conflict resolution. You know, black on black crime is every time we're the subject matter of police brutality and mob attacks come out, you have the enemy that sometimes he throw up in our face. Well, what about you all killing each other? And it is an actual fact. We really can't dispute that, but one has absolutely nothing to do with the other because when Tyrone killed Pookie, Tyrone go to prison.
Right.
When the police kill Pookie, the police gets off scot-free. And that's why, you know, those two things should not ever be in the same subject at the same time. However, we must deal with black on black crime because black on black crime is a problem in our community. Black on black crime is a reality in our community. And we are doing ourselves a disservice by killing each other and then wanting to point the blame at the enemy. And I'm for one, you know, there's just entirely too much information, brothers, for us to continue to say, I can't do this because the white man that. It's the white man that's preventing this from happening in my life. And so that's not an excuse that we should accept from ourselves. That's not an excuse that we should allow others to be able to accept or throw on us. So before we bring our brother on, I want to get comments from our other hosts about the subject matter of black on black crime and just hear a take from you. I'm going to start with the bedrock. Brother Jackie, what's your take on the black on black crime subject?
Well, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us plainly that these things happen because of lack of knowledge of self and knowledge of God. And the statement that the minister used when he was dealing with the police during the during the Holy Day of Atonement in New Jersey, he said the police gets off scot-free when they kill outside of justice. And this is where our plea is. It's outside of justice. You're getting a job and you're applying that you're going to hold up justice. But that same justice applies to us all, including yourself. So that's why we in the Nation of Islam love the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, because he keeps us balanced and he keeps us on the right path.
Thank you so much for that, Brother Jackie. Brother Ahmed, your take on black crime, brother. Should we keep saying it's the white man's fault?
No. Well, the white man, he plays a part in a lot of our lives ever since he brought us to the shores of America. So it is partly his fault and it's partly our fault. Some people say black on black crime. You can say Chinese on Chinese crime, white on white crime. It depends on the community, depends on the people. A lot of people don't even like to say it's black on black crime. But it's us killing us because of what the brother said, the lack of knowledge of self and God. But my take on it is always education. That prison to pipeline piece, you know, we lose our youth in educational system, and we are taught from Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Honorable Ms. Louis Farrakhan that the school system takes our children in and send them home, and they'll send them home to kill us. You know, they create savages. They don't create positive children that are coming home to help in our community.
Yes, sir.
That's
Thank you, brother. All right, and brother Kawi, give us your take, brother. What do you think when you hear black on black crime, and it's reality and it's happening? But what's your take on the subject of black on black crime?
Yes, sir. My take on black crime is exactly what we are taught in the teachings. It's just a result of self-hatred. The like Brother Ahmed said, our miseducation of ourselves, the self-hatred. When we see each other, it's just absolutely no unity amongst us. It's just a whole list of issues which cause us to look at each other as niggas and not as brothers. And I think that when we start to look at each other as a brother and stop looking at each other as a nigga, because it's so easy to kill a nigga and not so hard to kill a brother. When we change that mindset, then we can ease up the black on. I think with a better knowledge of ourselves, more love for ourselves, black on black crime will reduce dramatically.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. But what I want to do right now is bring on our guest, you know, very beautiful brother. First time I actually heard our brother speak was on Brother Minister Sharif's podcast brother did maybe a month or so ago right now, when he was on the relationship series with brother student minister, brother Abdul Sharif Muhammad. And I thought to myself, really, brother was one of the first brothers that I heard. I'm not saying he's the only one. He's just one of the first brothers I heard that answered relationships questions very direct. You know, sometimes we like to give a butterscotch answer to some questions that I think that make relationship building very difficult. But he's a very genuine brother. And I remember Brother Minister Sharif, when I was helping to put together a training manual for the 10,000 Fearless, he had asked me to give Brother Willie a call, Brother Minister Willie a call, pardon me, brother, and get the conflict resolution information from brother. He specializes in conflict resolution. Beautiful brother down in the city of Orlando, Florida. In fact, he has his own New Orleans.
New Orleans.
My bad, brother.
We would love to have
New
him.
Orleans. You know,
Yes,
they
sir.
need somebody in Orlando.
Yes,
But
sir.
New Orleans, Louisiana. And in fact, brother has his own podcast every Sunday. It's called Testimonies, or My Testimonies. And it airs every Sunday. And if you ever get the opportunity to watch, tune in to the beautiful podcast that our brother doing. So let me introduce our brother to all the listeners. Our brother from New Orleans, Louisiana, student minister Willie Muhammad.
All praises due to Allah, my brothers. And thank you all, man, for the work that you all are doing, because even what you all are doing with this podcast shows that despite COVID, that doesn't mean that the work doesn't stop. And you're using modern technology to continue our work. So thank you all. And you're doing it as a group of a collective of brothers, man. So thank you all for your example. And if anybody got a house for me in Orlando, man, we might can make that work.
Come on, man.
We know a guy that know a guy, brother. But brother, Minister Willie, let's talk about black on black crime first.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You know, because it's a reality in our community. We had the unfortunate reality of one of our brothers, a young brother who I did not get the honor of meeting, who lost his life to the streets recently here in Atlanta. But I paid attention to the after effects of the number of young people that this young brother touched their lives in a positive way. So let's talk about some of the black on black crime statistics and the reality that in our community from your perspective.
What's interesting, brother, is one, just like you all said, they're often beginning to start using the violence that we are enacting on one another as a way to silence the legitimate criticism and calling out of their violence against us. So a lot of times when, like in the city, when I hear people bring up, well, black folks are killing black folks, and I ask them, okay, how come I haven't seen you? When was the last time you personally organized one of these rallies against black on black violence in our community? You don't see them, right? So you find black folks too that often fall into that choir and singing and saying that. And as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said during the Justice or Else mobilization, he says that we're battling a war on two fronts. One, we're battling against white supremacy, and as one of the brothers said, we're battling against self-hatred. But if you look at it, brother, the same mindset that has inspired the many Black Lives Matter rallies, that mindset that they're fighting against is only one side of the same coin. The same mindset that the police have that caused them to kill us and put their knee on our neck for 8 minutes. It's the same mindset that causes a brother to pick up a gun and shoot somebody in a neighborhood. And that mindset is a lack of respect and not seeing any value in a black person. And I'll close on this. If you read in the scripture, it was written that this will happen. Go and read in the book of Exodus. Remember, right at a time where Moses was in Egypt and where Pharaoh had executed a genocidal plot against the children of Israel, killing the male children, sparing the females, right? While they were enslaved, while there was this genocidal plot, Moses walking around the kingdom of Egypt, he walked up on a brother who was getting beat by an Egyptian.
Yes.
So Moses killed him. Then the next day, Moses come back and find that same one that he rescued from being oppressed and being brutalized, more than likely by a police officer in Egypt. Now this same one was jumping on his own kind.
Right.
And you see that's what's happening today. But as one of the brothers talked about, that's one of the byproducts of the damage, the psychological damage that white supremacy has done to us, right? So
that's right.
That's the hidden hand. We're like Frankenstein. We're like that Energizer battery. They got that battery in our back, and now we're doing their bidding. Of course, we still share some responsibility, but as the minister said, they made us a menace to society. We're only following their behavior.
Yes, sir, brother. That is exactly right. Well, with that being the case, do you have any like statistics with respect to how much black on black crime is taking place? Because I think it was Brother Ahmed who mentioned the school system, the school to prison pipeline. You know, in fact, let's just talk about some additional root causes to this, because when I think on black crime, I'm really thinking on self-hatred.
Yes.
And I'm thinking on that scripture of the Holy Quran in the book of Hosea, where it says, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. And so I think on that, and I think of that as a part of the root cause that leads to our killing one another.
And as one of the brothers said it, the Most High Elijah Muhammad said that. He said that our people suffer from a lack of knowledge and a lack of love. And what has been placed in place of that lack of knowledge and lack of love is self-hatred. So if you can't love yourself, then how are you going to love somebody else that looks like you? So that is what we are in. You know, I think about it like this way, man. Black people, you ever notice like with pit bulls? Pit bulls are the only brand of dog that I know people raise specifically to fight other pit bulls. You don't find people raising a German Shepherd to fight another German Shepherd. But people raise pit bulls to breed them because they're going to one day end up fighting and killing another pit bull. And that is the mindset that Black people are in America. It's reinforced through the music. It's reinforced through the news. It's reinforced through how we deal with it. And I say this, I don't know if you can pull it up. I know I sent it kind of late. We don't realize how we indirectly contribute to this culture of violence that takes place in our community. I sent brother a picture. I was scrolling through this and I use this example in our training. But somebody posted a picture on Facebook today, and I'm not going to say the person's name, but this person will consider themselves to be conscious. This person will more than likely be on a thing like this, talking about how we have to stop the black on black violence, right? Is the one. So look at this. And listen, I say this too. I was a proponent of this, but as I began to start doing conflict resolution and in studying this, I sat back and said, man, I have indirectly attributed to or contributed to this culture of violence in the black community. How many of us have said, man, these little young boys don't know about nothing. They need to go back to the days when we wasn't selling with a gun, we were selling with our fists.
Come on,
right.
And we say stuff like that, and we think like that's the ideal, that's the best way. But civilized people don't go from having a disagreement to the very next step is let's settle it with our hands. That's not the way of a civilized person. But
That's
Satan
right.
is so crafty that he makes us think that if we say put the gun down and put up the fist, then we're doing it in a civilized way. But we must remember it was the whippings that people got from the fighting that made them say, hell with all this fighting, I'm going to get a pistol.
Talk on that. That's right.
So we have to begin to start changing the narrative and say, listen, when you have a disagreement with somebody, the first course of action should not be to respond in a violent way. And that's one of the things that the Most High Elijah Muhammad and Master Farah Muhammad, how they set the Nation of Islam up, where by them taking away the guns and the knives, right? And by them telling us that a Muslim, you shouldn't do harm against another Muslim. It made us reside on not the Negro way of solving problems, or not even a Negro way, not the beast's way of solving problems. Because when they want to solve a problem, they go drop a bomb on somebody. You see that with Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So the Most High Elijah Muhammad put us in an environment where we had to get away from their way of solving problems. We had to sit down and say, let me have a talk with this person first to find out if this is something worthy of us eventually having to take this to a physical conflict. And when we do that, we have found out that, man, stuff can be resolved without physical fighting. We can sit down and see where the misunderstanding is. And we'll talk about, from our experience, what we have noticed, which is at the root of much of this conflict that we're seeing.
Yes, sir. Brother Willie, you were speaking of changing the narrative.
Yes,
How
sir.
important is language in changing the narrative?
Language is very important because language is only reflective of our thinking, right?
Come on now.
You see these young brothers and sisters, the hip hop, older people too. Like they say when we're calling each other nigga, that's a term of endearment, right?
Right. That's
But as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, if it's a term of endearment, then how come our hoods don't reflect it?
Right.
How come New Orleans hoods don't reflect it? Chicago hoods don't reflect it? If nigga really meant for us to say that I'm showing love to somebody else, no. So once we begin to start change, the change in language is going to be a reflection of the change that's taking place in our thinking. What do we came into the Nation of Islam and we went from calling people niggas to brother to black man to God.
Right.
And as we had that thinking change, what began to start taking place? Our action and interaction with one another. So the principle of it is found in the scripture, in the book of Revelations. It said that the people had the mark of the beast on their forehead and the mark of the beast on their hand. So because their thinking was controlled by Satan, their actions reflected what was on their thinking. So the scripture comes back later and said the 3 6s was replaced with 3 7s, which represents God, right? So
Yes, sir.
we have to begin. And look what it says in the lessons, Brother Jackie. It says that the average man speaks 400 words considered well, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm not saying that this is the case, but I wonder if why does he speak 400 words considered well? Why not 500? You know how many words are in a dictionary? Could those 400 words that he speak well, meaning that he's still in the thinking and the speaking of a slave, because 400 may represent the 400 years we were in slavery.
Mm.
God has to come now and expand our vocabulary, and he expands our vocabulary by expanding our thought process.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right, brother. Wonderful, brother. And you know, as I'm thinking about some of the things that were said, my mind went right to the movie Django.
There we
And
go.
that movie just gave us a snippet of some of what our people went through during slavery. And I was thinking about that scene where I don't remember Leonardo DiCaprio's character's name, but
Candy,
how
Mr. Candy.
yes, and how he had the brothers, they will fight to the death. And so I think that self-hatred is really truly rooted in us and inbred in us to it just happens. And I remember once when the George Floyd incident first happened, I was in the barbershop with a brother, and a young brother came in the barbershop and he said, man, brother Rashad, who was my barber, he said, what we gonna do? So I said to the brother, I said, what would you do if I slapped the hell out of you? He said, I'd kill you. I said, but what would you do if the police fight you? Would you fight him back? He said, no, I go to jail.
See?
I said, but it didn't dawn on you that you will go to prison for killing me?
Think about that.
See how the self-hatred is just embedded in us, that you'll kill me if I slap you, but you will let the police kill you. Do you think that has a lot to do with slavery and things just being embedded in us?
Man, listen, I had the opportunity one time. There was a horrific murder that took place in the city of New Orleans, and I wrote an editorial, and it got a lot of publicity. So this white conservative radio host invited me on his radio show. So we were talking about the whole issue. So he said, Brother Muhammad, why do you think there's this high level of violence in the Black community? Where do you think it comes from? I said, oh, that's easy. We are only acting off what we have been taught on the plantation through slavery. And he said, oh, there you go. That was in the past. You want to blame this. But before I went on the show, I did some research on him. So I said, let me ask you this, sir. Are you familiar with the original sin? He's a Catholic. And the original sin is talking about what Adam eating off of a tree, right?
Yeah,
he said, yes. So he started running it. Yeah, the original sin is this, this, and this. I said, let me ask you this. How is it that what a man allegedly did over 6,000 years ago can affect the world today, where we need a Messiah and nobody disagrees with that? Nobody says that was in the past. But what our people experienced a couple of hundred years ago can affect us today?
Come on, man.
And after we said that, he hurry up and let's go to break. So going back to look at it, man, we talked, Brother Jackie brought up the language. When you look in the word kill, if you drop the K, what word is left?
Come on.
Ill. Right.
Ill is a sickness. And that sickness that's making us kill each other, as the Most High Elijah Muhammad was not taught this by a prophet, not taught this by a pastor, not taught this by his teacher. God himself came and said that the so-called Negro suffers from a lack of love of self, which now they have self-hatred. So the ultimate God, the ultimate physician, the ultimate doctor diagnosed it and said, these people are suffering from a sickness, and that sickness is self-hatred, and it can only be cured by knowledge of self.
That's right. That's right.
Come on, man. Come on. And you know, I remember once when I was a little child, and I was in a Sunday school session, and I raised the question once, like, what knowledge is it that we lack that's got us destroyed? And I remember like it was yesterday, the preacher said, you're too young to understand. But in my mind, I'm old enough to ask the question, so you can't possibly tell me I'm too young to understand. But it was at that moment that I had made up my mind that when I became old enough to make a decision, that I was no longer going to church. But I remember I bought the book Message to the Black Man. And this is going to my point. And I had that book for 5 years before I read it. But when I read it, it's so scientifically put together, it answered my question from probably over 10 years prior to the question I asked in church because it deals specifically with, in the beginning, the knowledge of God. Then you get to page 30, original man know thyself, which is the knowledge of self. And then it gets to page 100 where it talks about the devil, the knowledge of our open enemy. And I think it's these three things that our people truly lack the knowledge of that really perpetuates this self-hatred that we have for one another and cause us to continue to kill each other because we don't see each other as God. We see each other as the nigger that we call each other. We see ourselves as the dogs that we refer to each other as, which is in fact the opposite of God. All right.
And that's it. And when you think about it, brother, the transformation that all of us who are on this call, who are followers of the Most High Elijah Muhammad under the guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, our transformation began with a new thought. The new thought helped us to look at ourselves differently, help us to look at others differently, help us to see our role in this world differently, and it even produced in us a new way of eating. The more we learn about ourselves, the more we realize that there's certain things you don't put in yourself. And I like to use this analogy when I talk about knowledge of self. A teacher showed me that, Allah bless this teacher to put this in my head when I was in high school. And he asked us this, and I said to the audience, do you know what a chicken is, right? Imagine a chicken.
Right.
And you know what an eagle is. Imagine a baby eagle that's in a nest and it comes out of its eggshell, but the mother is not there, the father is not there. It never sees another eagle. Someone takes that eagle and put it on a chicken farm. It sleeps with the chickens. It eats with the chickens. Everything that the chickens do from his child to adult life, that's only thing that this eagle knows, right? If we had the opportunity to go to this eagle and ask it, are you a chicken or you an eagle? What would it say?
Chicken.
A chicken. Even though it may look in the water and say, my feet are not like his feet. My nose is not like his nose. My feathers are not like their feathers. Despite seeing that something is obviously different, it will still say and argue us down and say, man, I'm a chicken.
Brother bandwidth.
But go to show you how much further dangerous it is when we have an improper view of ourselves. Look, imagine if they're on the farm and there's a fence that they can't see through and it's about 10 feet tall. One chicken turns to the other chicken and says, man, I'm so tired of being on this farm. I sure wish I can fly over this 10-foot fence. Turns to another chicken. What about you? Man, I sure wish I could fly over this 10-foot fence.
Right.
Then all of the chickens turn to the eagle and ask it. They turn to the eagle that thinks it's a chicken and ask it, what about you? Now here they're asking an animal that by nature can fly over the highest mountain, Mount Everest, 29,141 feet high. Is that right? Miles high, right?
Yes, sir. Feet high.
It don't need to be taught. They don't have to go to school to learn how to fly like that. But because it does not know who it is, because it has an improper view of itself, it can't even use the God-given talent that God gave to it by birth to say, man, this 10-foot fence ain't nothing to me. But because it has an improper view of itself, because it lacks knowledge of self, it can't even use the God-given power that's inside of it. And that's the black man and woman. So we don't know who we are, so we can't even use what God wants us to do.
Right.
No argument.
What is this? Daddy's there?
But okay, we gotta mute that person.
Hold on. Yeah.
Yes, sir. All right.
I got him.
Student minister, I have a question for you. If you could please take us from like your approach when you go to gangs or individuals conflicting, to getting them in a room, and then your approach to killing that conflict between them two. Can you take us step by step to how you do that?
You know, brother, I'm glad you asked that question. And I'm coming to your answer, but I want to use this movie. We don't realize how we're sitting under a master teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who was taught by a master, Elijah Muhammad was taught by a master. You know, like in the movie Karate Kid, the dude was learning, he's becoming an expert martial artist, and he didn't even realize. He just thought that, damn, I'm just washing the car, washing the dishes, painting, wax on, wax off. But he didn't even realize that this man is so skillful that I can teach him martial arts by just giving them household chores. So I say that to say, as I reflect back on this, the stuff that I've learned from watching the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, from watching us in the Nation of Islam, how we're taught to settle our conflicts, this is how I realized that the seed was put in me to use it. And all we do is this, Brother Qua. We do this. One, you meet with the first person that calls you to say that they want to squash the beef, right? If they call a number, we meet with them. And when we meet with them, we get all of the facts, the who, what, when, why. We let them know, listen, don't sugarcoat nothing. We're not here to judge you. Our only purpose is to squash this conflict.
Okay.
Right? So after we get all of that information, then the next thing is, let's go meet with the other person. We go meet with the other person and say, listen, brother contacted us. He told us that y'all had a little beef. He wants us to help you all resolve it. Then we find out what's his perspective of the actual beef. And then when you begin to start meeting with both of them, you begin to start realizing what's the issue. And a lot of times the issue is a misperception, lack of communication, is I thought, he said, somebody told me, whatever.
That's right.
Or I looked at something. I'm gonna give you a real live example. And so what we do, we bring them to the table. And we bring them to the table. Hey, we're here. We keep putting out front. We are here to help you all squash this beef because we don't want to see nobody dead, nobody in jail. And we allow them to begin to start doing something in a controlled environment that they didn't do from the beginning. And you know what that is? Have a face-to-face talk with one another and not keep going through all of these he say, she say, or somebody said this on Twitter, somebody said this on Instagram.
Right.
And let me give you an example, brother. I was working at this GD program, and a brother from who I was working with, he knew about what we were doing in conflict resolution. So he came into my room. He said, Brother Muhammad, you want to go resolve a beef? I'm like, yeah. But I'm thinking we was going to have to go through the formal process, but this was going on live at that moment. So I met one brother. The brother's name was Darren. He came and got me. Darren said he pulled up to work and he saw this student was walking around. You could tell the student was mad about something. And he went up to the brother. He said, man, yo, what's happening? He said, man, you see them niggas sitting on, excuse my language, Miss Mobley.
Keep it real.
He said, you see them niggas sitting on that porch over there? I'm about to kill all of them.
Wow.
And Darren, wait, man, hold fast. Let me let you talk to Brother Muhammad. So I talked to the brother. I knew him because we had previous conversation. I said, man, listen, this is what I do in the community. Give me an opportunity to find out. Long story short, after I finished talking to him, we came outside. I'm looking at the brothers on the porch, trying to figure out how I'm gonna make this connection with them. Somebody I know pulled up that knew them. That was my connection. We went when the brother who I know knew them came to the center. I talked to him about what was happening. We went and knocked on the door. We knocked on the door. The brother came to the door. By this time, everybody had cleared the steps. I said, listen, man, handshake and a smile. First thing, introduce myself. This is what we're here to do. I said, listen, man, there was a brother he was minutes away from shooting everybody that was sitting on this porch about 30 minutes ago. When I told that brother that, his knees buckled. He said, what? I said, yeah. He said, man, that the brother felt like you all were scheming on him. He said, scheming on him? He said, man, I don't even know who you talking about. I said, well, listen, give me a moment. Let me go get the brother. Brought them together. I told the brother who was going to go get who was planning to get the gun out of his trunk. I said, tell him why you wanted to shoot them. He said, man, every time I pull up, y'all always laughing and looking at me all funny, like y'all plotting on me. And the brother who lived in the house said, man, listen. He said, brother, we weren't looking at you. He said, man, we was looking that way. He said, but we were looking at the group of girls that was standing on the same side of the street you were standing on.
Come on.
But in this brother's mind, he felt like they were plotting on him and he was ready to go get that gun. He was going to spray them and it'll been in the news that have ran these brothers' background, that they had previous convictions and it'll say it's drug related. What we're finding out, brothers, is at the very, you can pull up those slides, at the very root of much of the violence, brothers, is over misunderstanding, brother.
Wow.
When it starts in the very beginning, it's over misunderstandings, man. And this, I thought, whatever, and it's crazy. So when we do these trainings, we go into this. When we do these trainings, we go into this and we give more detail, more explanation where you're able to actually see it. I'm going to show you these slides where you can get an understanding of what we're actually talking about. So that first slide that brother has, we break it down.
All the way up for you, brother.
Okay, so you see that? Is there a way you can make it? You might have to download it and make it bigger. I don't know if your people can see it.
I'm finna do that for you right now, my brother.
Here we go. All right. So, gotta turn it. There we go. Thank you. All right. So when you see it, there it is. This is right here is our advisory system. You see where it says green? That's very low. There's no threat of violence, simple misunderstanding. Blue, guarded, some threat of violence, but no physical violence has occurred. Yellow, there's been threats. There may have been a fight. And then you get to green, orange, like there've been fights, weapons have been drawn, been brandished. Red, somebody has been shot, people have lost their lives, right? So you see that the majority of our conflict resolutions that we've resolved, you see they're pretty much in the green, they're in the green, you see they're in the blue. And the reason why is because we are trying to get there before somebody gets shot. Because to keep it 100 with you, when somebody loses their life, brother, only God can move on these people's heart to make them say, let me let that beef die.
Right.
Because most feel like if somebody that killed my partner, I gotta ride for them. They feel like they're betraying their partner if they don't ride. So
right.
Be proactive. We're trying to get there. And I use this biblical example. The minister said in the beginning of the book of Genesis, Satan was a snake in the beginning, but by the end of the book of Revelations, he was a what?
Dragon.
What if somebody would have took care of Satan when he was in a snake form?
Right.
We don't want to wait until the building is burning out. We're not trying to get to wait until stage 4 cancer as it relates to this beef, right? We're trying to be proactive, right? And so you see that. Go to the next slide, please.
Give me 1 second, brother. Here, we got a little slow operating system.
All right, we're
We coming.
make it happen, man.
Oh, absolutely,
So,
brother.
Here, this next slide, and I'm big on collecting data, man, because I want to show like, yo, we're not just playing, man. This stuff is real. He's going to show the one that says the analyst of conflict resolution, right? So these are this is how the calls that we get. You see that 8% of the conflicts that we have, people actually call the hotline, the telephone number. We don't use a 1-800 number. We have we do a Google number now, 504, to make it local, where somebody calls a human being. And we understand that most people are not going to call the hotline because they don't know who this person is. Like, yo, I don't even know who on the other end of this call. This is why relationship building is important in the community. When people know you in the community, they're going to be more likely to call you to help them. You see, 21%, the mediators knew the conflicting parties and they intervened. Like the mediators saw somebody beefing on social media or saw somebody they heard about somebody was beefing because somebody talked about it in a barbershop and they got involved. You see 13%, the brothers walked up in the action. They was in the community doing a community walk and they walked up and they saw somebody about to get into it and they intervened. But this is the key part. You see nearly 60% of the conflicts that we resolve come from somebody who knew one of our mediators. Like they knew. You see what I'm saying? Like they This is why relationships are important. Relationship building. Because when they know, oh man, that's brother Jackie. Or that's brother Kadir, that's brother Ahmed.
Come on.
Man, I know him. Good brother. That's why we build the relationships, and that's why the vast majority of our conflicts that we resolve come from people who know about the work we're doing, and they know it. And I'll give you an example. In the training, we showed a video. Man, there was a beatdown that took place. It was live on the news, brother. This white reporter was in the Ninth Ward doing a report on violence, and man, this brother came up and was checking these other brothers. And he was like, I'll be back. And he came back. Man, he was cursing. I'll send you the video.
Yes, sir.
Man, he ended up getting into a squabble. Man, the brother was like beating the mess out of him. And one of the other brothers said, don't flush him, meaning don't knock him out. And while he was on top of him beating him, this is on video, the dude went in his pocket to get a gun. And they say he getting a gun. Your boy who was beating him took the gun from him. And they said, don't shoot him, don't shoot him. We got involved with that. The brother who was getting beat up in the video, when we finally found somebody who knew him, the first question he asked when the brother said, hey man, brother Willie Muhammad from the mosque want to speak with you. He want to see about how they can resolve this beef between you and the brother. The first question he asked, brother, he said, I'm giving it this real. He said, we got to use the N word. He said, what type of nigga is he? Meaning streetwise, what is his character like? Is he somebody I can trust? And the brother who called him said, listen, man, you know, I done served time in prison. He said, but there ain't too many people that I'll give my life for. He said, but I'll put my life on the line for brother Willie. And when he said that, give him my phone number. See, but it's relationships.
Right.
Because I had with the brother who knew this brother, we were able to make the connection. So that's one of the benefits of always going into those communities and forming a relationship, knowing them by name. They might not buy the paper, but hey man, what's happening, brother Slick? Good seeing you, man. How your family? So when the time comes, when we want them to depend on us, we already have a relationship. Let me show that last slide.
Yes, sir. Let me pull that up here, brother. You know our system over here is slow, but we got you, black man.
That's no, we're gonna make it happen, man.
Yes, sir. All right, we coming up right now.
And I'll show you, and I'll give you some background on this. So nationally, we have a total of 131 conflicts that have been resolved from all of the cities that have participated in this.
Really?
Yes, out of the 133, 122 of them are on the guarded level or above, right? You see that?
Yes, sir.
Those who are part of the training with us, we have personally trained 1,280 people in this conflict resolution.
That's great.
In this training, they get the basic principles of conflict resolution, and they understand the 10-10-15 conflict resolution procedures and process. We've traveled to 25 cities. In New Orleans,
that's right.
We were doing conflict resolution in 2011 with the peacekeepers, with Brother Dennis set up.
Right.
In 2015,
That's right.
Brother Jesse, now Brother Abdul Qiyam, has shared with Minister Farrakhan the work that we were doing. And the minister said he was blown away, and he said, let Brother Willie know that we want to adopt this as the model for the 10,000 fearless.
Right.
And that's how we began to start going around to the different countries. But let me tell you, brothers, we still have not really implemented this.
Right.
Still have not. We could be doing way more, but there's so many others. I won't go into it now, but just our thinking that stops us. We could be doing way more, man, if we really understood and just follow the procedure.
Right.
You know, and not try to go on it and do this and do this. No, just follow it. You know, but work right now, and I'll share this, brother. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan told Brother Qiyam to tell me, he said, let Brother Willie know that whoever is not supporting him or helping him in this conflict resolution initiative, he said, they're not helping me.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
So
Yes, sir. Go ahead, my brother.
no, I was gonna ask you, brother Willie, because you spoke earlier about how the young brother who was standing across the street, he wanted to spray them on the porch. You know, he was on autopilot, basically. And we are fighting Willie Lynch from 300 years. And I'm wondering, in your conflict resolution, do you see the actual, you know, what Willie Lynch described? It's a big brother versus a little brother, a light-skinned brother versus dark-skinned. The whole plan that he gave, do you still see that plan in fruition?
Remember, it talked about in that how they'll be fighting over my plantation is bigger than your plantation.
Absolutely.
My massa is nicer than your massa. Like you're from, I know, like in Orlando, they got Miami, they got this neighborhood called Pork and Beans Projects, right?
Right.
Yes,
in Atlanta, they got Zone 5, Zone 6.
You're right.
Listen, you have teenagers today that are born and they are raised in an environment where they feel like they have to continue these old neighborhood street beefs. So they grow up hearing the males in their family or the women in their family talk about, well, we don't mess with nobody from the Pork and Bean Project, or we don't mess with nobody from Zone 6. So then when they go to school, they're from the Pork and Bean Project. In their mind, well, we're not supposed to like them.
Right.
Or they from 6, we're not supposed to like them. So it's all of that divide and that is that division, right? And going back to the lessons, think about what the Most High Elijah Muhammad said the white man does when he said they call us Africans. Listen what he said. The man said, they want us to think that we are different.
That's right.
That's a psychological walk. I want them to think in their mind that even though I see another black man who catching hair like other black men, me and him not the same. So we think how we are not, we think, well, that goes to show us that the so-called Negro thinks more about how we are different than rather than how we are similar.
Right.
And the only person that, when you look at it, we say Islam is mathematics, right? So in mathematics, when you add, you get a sum. When you multiply, you get a product. When you divide, you get a difference.
Right.
Subtract, you get I think when you subtract, you get a difference too.
You get a difference.
Yeah. The only person that is trying to divide and make people different is those who are following Satan.
That's right.
Let's think that we are different. Like, man, the projects in Uptown be dirty like the projects in the downtown. Right. But we still think we different. They ain't like us. And we use that to wreak havoc on one another.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Brother Ahmed had a question for you. Go ahead, Brother Ahmed.
Yes, but Willie, so we deal with the conflict resolution in the streets and we deal with the school, but how important, because I thank Allah God for my parents, because I never saw them get into an argument. I never saw them argue. And what I wanted to know, because like you said a minute ago about the parents telling them, how important are the parents in setting an example for this conflict resolution piece, and how, parenting is so hard. What tools can you offer them, all of us are parents, in dealing with children?
I see, shout out, we got the big cap out there. But the parents are extremely significant because they remember the Most High Muhammad said that the strength of a nation is in the home. Most of these bad habits is mostly our inability to resolve conflict. Most people end up getting that from the home.
Breaking up.
Your sound is bad.
Your sound is real bad. It's horrible.
My sound is bad.
Yes, sir.
It's too much heat for the enemy, brother. Too much heat for this enemy.
How's it now?
Still bad. You sound like a robot.
Hold on a second.
Yes,
Still
sir.
sounds like a robot.
Yes, sir.
Is this Wi-Fi? Let me see if I can. Get on. I might have to just get on through my phone. One second.
Yes, sir. And in the meantime, in between time, while we're waiting on brother to get that together, I was listening to a Stop the Killing lecture by the Honorable Louis Farrakhan today, and he put the onus really on the believers. And he said, what's the duty of the civilized man? Well, we all know that it is our duty to teach and train the uncivilized. Is that right? And he said, we have the name Muhammad, but we have to work to be worthy of the name Muhammad. And he really said he was just strip us of our name because we're not doing our duty. And also in the lessons, it says that what would happen if we failed in our duty? And I remember once as a young student in the ministry under Brother Rasul, where the lesson says that we'll be punished by the Nation of Islam. Well, Master Farad Muhammad called our people the Nation of Islam before he had one convert. So if we don't perform our duty as Muslims, then our people who we walk by every day, who we say nothing to,
who we do not offer conflict resolution to, who we don't invite to the mosque, who we don't offer a final call newspaper, who don't we say, hey, here's how to live, stop eating that. Those very same people gonna rise up and punish us for failure to do our duty. And that's the risk we run by not being or doing what we're supposed to do as the believing body of people who have the knowledge, or we claim to have the knowledge of God, who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad.
Can you all hear me now?
Much better, much better, much better.
Got to get on the cell phone. To Brother Ahmad's question, one of the things that parents can begin to start doing is be mindful of how our children see us resolve conflict in the house. How do they see us resolve it? Do they see us cursing and throwing things at one another? Do they see us resorting to physical violence, right? Also, use the opportunity that when as sibling conflicts, you know, if you got brothers and sisters, they're going to end up sometimes squabbling at sometimes. Model to them and show them this is how you resolve a conflict, right?
Right.
This is how you do that. So that's another way. And continue as parents, we have to continue to keep pushing into them that Black, like it has to become a standard that Black people don't harm other Black people unless somebody tries to aggress us. Like we have to begin to start showing them this, and this is how you do it. And this has to be taught in the school because, brother, we are battling a culture of violence, right?
Yes, sir.
We are battling
a
culture of violence. And there's something Brother Captain Dennis always talks about, from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, when he talks about the norms that's set in the community, right? Like now, what's normal to civilized people, is to the person that's in savagery, that looks abnormal. Like you're talking about, tell somebody, hey man, instead of going to pick something up and bust him in his head, let's have a sit down with this person. Let's see how we can. They're like, man, nobody don't do that type of stuff.
Right.
But that's how we have to resolve it, right? And so we have to begin to start teaching and training. It has to be taught in the schools. It has to be taught in the churches. It has to be taught in the mosques. It has to be taught in the barbershops. It has to begin to start being like this is the new standard.
Right.
And then start seeing that. But right now, the standard is, all of us here on the call, how many of us have heard our parents tell us, if you get into a fight with somebody, pick something up and bust them in their head?
I can hear that right now.
Yeah, I've heard that.
I can hear that right now in my mind.
And you know, brother, that what you just said is proof that as a community, we're walking around shell-shocked. As a community, we're walking around like somebody that has just came from a battle on a battlefield in some war zone. And so now we've been reduced to the levels of animals where we have this mindset of kill or be killed, right? Well, we are finding out with this conflict solution, we'll find out with the conflict resolution, that even when they have conflicts, they really don't want to kill one another. But because they have this thought in their mind that if I don't get him first, he gonna get me. I gotta go and do something that I really didn't want to do. So that's why we got to begin to start to get there, to build the relationships, to get people to know that this initiative exists, so that they can begin to start seeing that there is another way. Because if you talk to most of the brothers that are in prison for murder, who've been sitting back 10, 15, 20 years, if you ask them now, would you have resolved that issue the same way? They would say, man, I realize I ain't have to do that.
That's right.
That's right.
Right?
Because
the majority.
Because there's so many brothers in the prison system, brother. I used to do prison ministry down in Florida. And there are a lot of brothers and sisters there who know they made an emotional decision at that time. Now they're in there for life, never getting out. And so I'm grateful to the teaching of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, where he in particular teaches us to rise above our emotions and get into the thinking of God. And I think one of the key things we have to get into is really teaching our people. because many of us are going to die. Many of our people are going to die because we are not doing what we agreed to do as Muslims in the Nation of Islam, because we have something that our people do not have. And if we claim that God came, then the scripture said, blessed are the peacemakers. That's why I love the peacekeepers movement. I think that name is just fitting. But Brother Dennis said something. He said, the Honorable Louis Farrakhan says something, and I'm misquoting, but Brother D, you on the line, you could correct me about the name from being peacekeepers. But he said that the minister established the peace, and his organization is designed to keep the peace. We have to be the ones that keep the peace in our community, brother. And you have to travel all over the country, Brother Minister Willie, with that conflict resolution initiative, because looking at the statistics, hearing you talk about it, the very solution to some of the crime that's going on in our community can be resolved with what it is that you are currently doing and training people all over the country to do, that we can establish these things all over the country.
And the other aspect of it is too, our people have a responsibility as well. And I learned this from Hurricane Katrina. As I watched the military and Coast Guard rescue people, if you go back and you watch that, or anybody being rescued, you see that the Coast Guard or the person who's the rescuer, they went through the training, right? They know how to use all of the equipment, fly the helicopters, lower the ladder, how to tell people to put on a life preserver. But when they come after they went through the training and they've given their sacrifice in their life to go and save somebody else's life, there's a responsibility on the person that needs to be saved as well. See, this conflict resolution initiative is like a life preserver. We're throwing it to our community. They have to grab it. Now, if they don't grab it and they end up out there getting killed, then you can't blame us because we tried. And if you go through the scripture, you see being saved is a two-way street. Right. Jesus will heal somebody. He told a man who had the weathered hand, he said, reach out your hand. He told a man that was a paralytic, he told him, pick up your bed and walk. Right? That's right. They had to do something. And our people have something that they have to do. If we are willing to put ourselves on the line, and as the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan said, stand between the guns and the gangs. If we are willing to do that, what should they be willing to do? So they have a responsibility as well, man, that listen, man, these people are willing to help us. I got to stick my hand out. Right. But our people are so conditioned and we are so far in this stage of mental death that they think that, man, there is no hope. And that's in the scriptures. Didn't the bones, when they said that's that? Right. Dry bones in the valley. There is no hope. We are all dried up. So that's the mindset that we are fighting against. But we got to keep fighting. So at least we can stand before God. And if Allah says, what did you do? We can say, hey, we went all through Atlanta, passing out flyers, putting up.
That's right.
Knocking on doors. Come on now.
Right. You know, Brother Ahmed has another question for you. But before your question, Brother Ahmed, to all of the people that are listening on on Zoom, we understand we may possibly have a problem with our chat. So somebody that's other than one of the hosts, type test or something into the chat so we can make sure that it's properly functioning. So we need to know that. To everyone that's watching on Facebook Live, we don't really monitor Facebook Live. It's kind of difficult for us to be hosting this and watch the Facebook Live. So if you want to come on to the Zoom with your questions could be answered there. All right. Thank you, Brother Abbott. The chat is open. There's nothing wrong with the chat. Brother Abbott just put a chat, sent a text in the chat. Thank you, Brother Abbott. Go right ahead, Brother.
Hey, Brother Willie. So we formulated this group dealing with violence in the community, police violence. Well, we really are like frontline soldiers, and we all want to just get an idea of a situation that was so difficult that you had to handle, and how you handled, in your work on the front line?
Man, for me, from my experience with dealing with the conflict resolution, the most difficult part of it is sometimes like if person A is having a beef with person B, right? And they might have a beef with them, but then if we need to get in contact with person B, they don't know, they don't have a number on them. They don't know where they stay. So now we got to begin to start using creative ways to actually try to find them. You know, sometimes some of the most difficult thing is to get them to the table because the ego is present and they may not want to go to the table. But when they don't want to come sit down at the table, we still are mediating. Now we are going back and forth and say, listen, brother don't want to come to the table and sit down, but he's willing to squash the beef. Where he's saying if you do X, Y, and Z, it's all good. And most of what they say is, long as he don't tell me anything, I ain't gonna tell him anything, and that's it. One of the biggest challenges that we find with this, brother Ahmed, it really becoming our belief in that those of us who want to be a part of the conflict mediation effort, that we believe that it actually works.
Come on, man.
Some of us will be like, man, a whole year has passed, man. We ain't resolved no conflict. A whole year, like that ain't our fault. And we out there promoting it, putting up billboards. Like if we throwing the life preserver and they're not grabbing it, how we gonna blame ourselves?
Come on.
What Allah asked us to do. And some of us, because let me tell you how real this is, brother. Even two of God's prophets had to battle with temporary bouts of, can these people's conditions change? Go and read in the second surah of the Holy Quran, I think maybe around verse 260, whatever. Abraham is called, how is the subtitle is, how will this dead nation be raised?
Come on.
Abraham saw the condition of black folks and he said, God, how can you raise this dead nation? And God said, Abraham, do you doubt my ability to give them life? And listen to what Abraham said. He said, no, he said, I'm only asking so that my mind may be at ease.
That's right.
Because we talk all, the black man is God, we're gonna do this, and then we turn on the TV, 30 people got shot in Chicago. A young girl got shot in Atlanta. We like, man, our work is in vain. And then Ezekiel, God put Ezekiel in the valley of the dry bones, right? And listen, check this out. Their condition was so bad that God asked Ezekiel, can these bones live? Ezekiel turned around. He didn't want to say, God, I don't know. He said, God, only you know. So for us, we have to increase our love. What is it in the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that despite the savagery that he sees of our people, despite the savagery that he even sees in us, the falling victim to the law that he sees in some of us, what is it in the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that has caused him not to give up on the people of God?
Come on, man.
It's his love. It's his love and his belief in what the scripture says about God's word, where it says the heavens and the earth shall fall before one word of God is proven false.
Come on, brother.
This is why as believers, we should not walk by sight. We walk by faith.
That's right.
Right? And
That's
this,
right.
this is the thing. This is one of the things I use. I ask people this. We talk about it in the training. I say, by the show of hands, how many of you will say that you are more of a believer in God's word than Iblis?
Wow.
Everybody raises their hand, right? And I ask, does Iblis have a better belief and a stronger belief in the resurrection of the black man and woman from this state of savagery to godlike, in this state of killing one another to loving one another? Because when God asked Iblis, when he punished Iblis, listen what Iblis said. He said, respite me until the day that they what?
All right.
I knew it was gonna happen.
He didn't say respite me to the day that they not gonna get up.
Right.
Even Iblis knew that one day these people are gonna get up. So those of us as believers, we gotta just keep working. Right?
Come on, man.
And I'll use this story, brother. There was a wise man, quote unquote, before he would get up in the morning to do his work, he'll go walk on the beach. So one day he's walking on the beach, and in the distance, he sees somebody that looked appear like they're dancing on the beach to the sound of the wave crashing into the seashore. As he gets closer, is a young brother. He's not dancing. He's picking up the shellfish, the starfish, and throwing it in the water, because if they don't get back in the water, then they're going to end up dying. And he was trying to do it before the water will reside. So when the wise man got up to the young brother, he said, listen, he saw all of these starfish. He said, young blood. He said, man, you wasting your time. He said, man, you're not going to be able to save all of these starfish, man, by the time this water about to stop coming on the shore this deep. And while he kept telling the young brother what he was not going to be able to do, you know what the young brother did? He stooped down, grabbed one of the starfish, threw it in the water, and looked at the man in his eyes and said, I saved that one. That has to be our spirit. Because remember what Allah says in the Holy Quran. He says if you save one life, it's like saving all of humanity.
Right.
So if you have this initiative in your city and you only save one person, all praise is due to Allah. Because what would that one person whose life has been saved, what does that mean to that person's mother, their father, their brother, their sister, their children?
Right.
We just got to keep doing the work and be able to stand before Allah. And we can say, Allah, we've been doing this for 5 years, letting people know we have this initiative. Doesn't Allah say in the Quran that all he does is sends his warner to deliver a clear message?
That's right. That's right.
The clear message is not going to always be holding up the Quran and holding up the Bible. Sometimes the clear message is going to be y'all going like the work that y'all doing in Atlanta, that, hey, brother, I know you're a part of this gang. You're a part of that gang. We're offering conflict resolution. Here's our flyer. Here's our number. Call us so we can help you all.
Right.
What's clearer than that?
Nothing.
Absolutely.
You're not doing it for money.
That's right.
You're not doing it for, you coming to them with the purest motivation to say, I just want to stop seeing y'all kill each other. And if they don't accept that, is that our fault? Oh no, that's not our fault.
Not at all. Not at all. Brother, we got 3 questions. We got 3 questions from Facebook. We're going to, Brother Jackie got one, Brother Kyle got one, and then of course one came to me as well. So we'll go ahead and start with Brother Jackie's question from Facebook first.
Yes, sir, Brother Willie. The question is, do you have online training set up, or is that in the works?
You know, when we first started this, we were doing online training, but to be quite honest, you get the most out of this training when it's done in person. If anybody that's ever experienced it, they will tell you that. But in light of this COVID, I think we're going to start putting together some like online stuff to give people at least a little taste of it, where they can at least have some of the principles to start getting some things up and running until we're able to have it in person. But you get the most of it in person. But we're going to, inshallah, in the next couple of weeks or whatever, we're going to put together a little online, we're going to put together a little, we're going to put together a little online training. We're going to put together a little online training, something coming up. But this is the key thing, brother Jackie and brothers. I tell people this. It makes no sense for us to come to your city or come to you online if we do this and then we don't have any real intention to get out there and work the program.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
It's like a waste of time. So it's not being talked about from headquarters. If you don't hear the minister talk about conflict resolution, now it's on to the next thing. Listen, every city I go to, I send the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan a report on conflict resolution.
Got you. All right. Well, great answers to Brother Jackie's question. Brother Jackie, that was the exact question my person had. Brother Kyle, you said you got a question from somebody?
Yes, sir. So, brother, I hear all the passion in your voice. It seems like you're very tied up in this, and I absolutely love it. Man, can you just tell us a little background? How did you get to this point? At what point did this become like, it seemed like your life calling, like this is something you want to do?
Man, you know, it came from a desire that I have to see the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's word made bond.
Wow.
When the minister said that he wanted to set up conflict resolution, he wanted to see it. Ain't no mystery, guys. Somebody got to do it. right?
That's
You
right.
see, it's like this.
Right.
Why in the Bible, why in the Quran would Jesus have to say, after we know that they said that he had to say, who are my helpers in the cause of Islam, right?
Right, right.
If
Come on.
sitting around, if my hands don't understand their purpose, if my hands don't understand that they are created and put on the body to carry out the thoughts on the mind, then whatever my mind sends to my hands is not going to do anything.
Right, right.
And too many of us are sitting around waiting for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan to do everything.
Come on now.
Everything.
Has told us, listen, if he said that he wanted, go out and get it. And I'll share this with you, brothers. We were at the dinner table in a hotel in Austin, Texas, in Houston, Texas. And it was me, the regional minister, Brother Eric, and a brother from Austin. He's the student minister in Austin, who they also have y'all need to get him on. Because they in Austin, they rocking and rolling with the conflict resolution. I can give you his contact.
Yes, sir.
So the minister was sitting at the head of the table, and Brother Robert from Austin was sitting in front of the minister. So when the minister was looking at the television, he had to look at Brother Robert. So he asked Brother Robert, he said, brother, tell me about yourself. Because their study group had just became a mosque. And brother started telling him about how his children graduated from high school at a young age, and they were about to graduate from college before they were 18. You hear that?
Wow.
And the minister was like, the minister had this like baffled look on his face. He said, were they homeschooled? He said, no, sir, minister, they weren't homeschooled. He said, well, how did that happen? He said, my wife took to heart your teaching about how to give birth to a God.
Look at that.
This sister took the teachings, and she has an actual book that believers can buy on how to give birth to a God. Listen to what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said. A big smile came on his face. He said, brother, he said, Allah always blesses me with ideas that I speak to you all. He said, the problem is they always remain in the idea stage because none of you, because he said, because you all don't take them and go to work and make them into flesh. And so,
come on, brother.
We got to we just got to work. We just got to work, man. We didn't allow ourselves to suffer from paralysis by analysis.
Right,
come
right.
on, brother.
We did some planning and we got to work from the spirit of wanting to make the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's word bond. Think about how much stuff he said that he wants. And what happens sometimes, Allah will give us the idea, but instead we go bring the idea to some minister in the mosque, some captain in the mosque, and we want them to implement it. No, Allah gave you the idea.
Teach.
Right.
We still respect the structure. We still work with the structure. We don't try to build the mosque in opposition to the mosque. But remember, Master Farah Muhammad says big fields are awaiting the
wide awake, man. Come on, man. Hey, man, say that again. There's somebody else who can hear that.
We gotta go out. We gotta go out there and do it. So one, the burning spirit is, man, listen. I want to make the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's word bond. Wow. I love to hear the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan smile. I love to see him happy. I want him to know that, listen, I'm with you. That don't mean I'm perfect. You understand what I'm saying? Which you know all of us are not perfect, but nonetheless, I'm with you, brother minister. I want to be of those who, when they say, when you don't have to ask if you see me, who are my helpers in Islam?
That's right.
In the cause of truth.
That's right.
So I'm saying, those of us who are out there, if God blesses you with an idea, go out there and do it.
Get up and go to work. That's right.
Thank you for that, brother. Appreciate that, brother.
Brother Willie, we got more questions in the chat room. Brother said, how will we apply conflict resolution in the mosque? We have sex and games of thought in the house. From my perspective, we have employed a tactic of avoidance instead of constructive confrontation. We have the elephant in the room that we do not acknowledge. Wow.
You know, several things. When we will go around the country, people will say, man, we need this in the nation. Of course we do, because we're coming right out of the world, right?
That's right.
And so the thing is, we have to just practice the principles. Like, if we have the atonement process, how do we can be walking around in the mosque and have beef with one another? You got the atonement. Man. So a lot of time the issue is there's a gap between what we know and what we're practicing, right? Because we're not perfect. We're working toward that. But what we have to do, if we know that there's conflict between a brother and a sister, or two brothers in a mosque, or two sisters in a mosque, we should do something to say, hey, I know that there's conflict. What would Minister Farrakhan want us to do in this particular situation, right? Now, also as it relates to cliques and all of this stuff, I got to say this. We were in Houston and it was a believers meeting, and somebody was like, yeah, because we got too many cliques in the mosque. And the minister was saying that having a clique is not necessarily a bad thing. It's the motive behind which that clique forms itself.
That's right.
Because some people we just don't like. You got some brothers, they like to play basket. Like, some people have certain people bond with one another, and that's fine.
Right.
In the end, we are all brothers. But if we are doing it to the exclusion of somebody else, where we using our little clique, our little set to say we better than somebody else, that's when it's beginning to be a problem, right? So the thing is, the first thing that we can do, one of the first things we can do, is be an example. How do we handle when we personally have a conflict with somebody in the mosque? How do we handle it? And after we resolve that conflict, do we testify and say, listen, I know, man, my brother was beefing at one point, but we came together and we worked that out, right? I believe but we also, it would benefit. I don't have control over this. This is why we to address that issue, if it could be and we speaking about the mosque specifically, we can begin to start teaching it conflict resolution in the classes.
Yes, sir.
On a Wednesday night.
Come on.
That's
right. Come on, man. Brother Willie, thank you for that too. We got another question from someone in the chat. Assalamu alaikum. Sister said, once the conflict resolution takes place, what are the next steps? Should a person seek atonement or sever the relationship?
No, I mean, atonement is the best thing, right? And then sometimes when we do conflict resolution, when it's over with, we don't tell people, okay, go over there and hug the brother, go over there and shake the hand. No, that's on them to do.
Right.
Our goal is to make sure, get them to get to a commitment where they say, I'm not going to do anything to harm this person.
Right.
That's the goal. Now, if they want to pick up and begin to start being friends and go to the movies together, then all praises due to Allah. If they say, make a commitment, I'm not going to do you any harm, and I'm going to go my way, we just would avoid each other, then all praises due to Allah. We just want to get them to come to an agreement where they will not do harm against one another.
Yes, sir. And let me say to our listening audience, the four of us, when we decided to do this podcast, we really didn't want to, quote unquote, preach to the choir. While we invite guests from within our nation, because we're always going to do that, as well as from out. But this podcast is for everyone, because what you're being or listening to right here this evening, this is good whether you're a Muslim, a Christian, in the nation, out the nation, a nationalist, agnostic, whatever you call yourself. You have conflict in your life, and this information given from this podcast will affect you, period. You will get that from this podcast. So understand our position, and because we're gonna have guests later that has no affiliation with the nation, but the information that those people will be given will be good for you. Brother Willie, I say, and I really think I got it from Brother Dennison. We're gonna put this on the t-shirt. If Black life don't change, Black life don't matter. If you're selling dope, do you love your people? If you robbing, you can't love your people. And so I'm thinking about this conflict resolution, and should the conflict resolution be applied to the drug dealer? That's a conflict of a problem. That's a problem, because most people think conflict is just a violent type thing, but there's a root cause to a lot of this conflict.
Yeah, man, wherever somebody's being ill affected by someone else, where there's a conflict, it should apply. When I think about the whole thing, Black Lives Matter, I was on this show and I asked the question, is it a question about whether or not Black Lives Matter, or should the question be, how much does Black Lives matter?
Yes.
Right? Does Black Lives matter enough where, as a Christian pastor, you love Black people so much that you're willing to work with a Muslim? Does Black Lives matter that, as a Pan-Africanist, you love Black folks so much that you'll be willing to work with a Christian pastor? Like, should the objective be to increase the amount of love for we can say that Black Lives matter? Then we can ask the question, because think about us. You have brothers and sisters who are in the Nation of Islam now who were once drug dealers. They had a semblance of love for Black people, but they didn't have enough love for Black people to say, you know something? I have now loved my people to such a degree that I'm not going to sell them drugs anymore.
Come on, man.
So we got to begin to start, what can we do to increase the love that we have for one another? So we say, you know something? I'm not going to even sell them alcohol.
Come on.
This is why the Elijah Muhammad is so important, and why the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is so important, because he is teaching us how to love a people that hate themselves.
That's right.
We gotta love them more than they hate themselves. That's a supernatural love.
That's key, man. And I think about the love the Honorable Louis Farrakhan has for, man, listen. I loved my father, may Allah be pleased with him, the man that raised me as his child. But I have never in all of my adult life as a man loved a man more than I'm talking about, I love the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And I have never met a man in my life that loves us more than we hate ourselves. This man just won't throw us away. And until we, as students of his and the teaching of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and followers of his, those that are with him and follow him, we have to have that kind of love. And that's why I think the minister always, or have said often, not always, but have said often, our love is not deep enough.
I have a question, brother.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
There's a sister in chat. He actually typed the question. It says, once the conflict resolution takes place, what are the next steps?
We read that
Should
question.
a person seek atonement or sever the relationship?
We read that question, brother.
Oh, I didn't know, brother. I apologize.
Now, brother Willie might have a different answer this time. Hey, I gotta stop teasing that brother, man. Somebody might think that disrespecting my brother.
Brother Willie, now with this conflict resolution, what about internal conflict?
Yeah, I mean, that's real too. Yeah, we got internal conflict as well, and we got to address that. It's what I'm realizing, Brother Ahmed, is that when we first started, we just thought we were just going to be dealing with conflict just between people in the street. Man, we didn't do conflict resolution with people who were business people, siblings.
Right.
And let me tell you this, Brother Dennis, if he was still, he can bear witness to this. Some of the most difficult mediations that we have ever faced, guess who it was with? People who who said that they were a part of the so-called conscious community.
Wow.
There have been some ones like people who say that they know that they love Black people. And it's no, but that's where I go, how deep is your love?
Right.
So with the internal conflict, that's why it's important as it relates to self-improvement study guides. And the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said this, and I'll give you this 2 examples. He said that one of the most He said this. He said one of the most difficult battles that any of us will ever face would be that battle with ourselves, and that's what we run from. But if we fight that battle, look at the story of David, right? When David got ready to fight this external force, Goliath, David, they was like, man, who give from what do you think that you can deal with Goliath? Look what David said. David said, man, I done already slayed a bear and a lion with my own bare hands.
Come on, man.
Could that bear and that lion symbolically be standing for the lion, talking about the beastly side of the human nature inside of him? Could the bear be those shortcomings, those sins that we have, that they, like a bear, they hibernate, and then some years later they wake up? So when David did this own self-improvement on himself, there was nothing outside of David that he felt could handle him.
Come on. That's deep.
So this is why self-improvement is really important. But in order to do that, we have to, Brother Ahmed, we got to be honest with ourselves. So in the lessons, think about the English lesson C1. When it asks the question, it says this. When it says, how come their own people didn't come for them? I'm paraphrasing. It says, because their own people didn't know where they were, right?
That's right.
Look at this principle that's found in that story. Imagine if I'm in Atlanta and I call one of y'all at 2:00 in the morning, and I'm like, yo, I need you to come and get me. And you know, because you know me, you know, Brother Willie, you're gonna like, okay, where you at? And I say, I don't want to tell you. Then you can't come and get me.
Right.
In that lesson, they couldn't come and get them until they knew where they were. So people can't help us until we are honest about, like, where are we? And listen, that's with Dianetics, that's with self-improvement. Until we are really honest about where we are on this road of self-improvement, we're not going to be able to be helped. So with people who are like drug addicts, I know a brother, he shares with me when he goes about his experiences at Alcohol Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous. He said the first thing that people have to do, they have to admit that I'm an alcoholic. And
That's
when they do that, they begin to start getting. So once we got to be honest about where we are, you know.
That's right, brother. Thank you so much for that, brother. You know, I remember years ago when I came into the nation of the brother Minister Jamil, I never forget him say once from the rostrum, similar to what you just said, brother, I am a sinner. And until we admit we are a sinner in need of conflict resolution, not outside of ourselves, but the conflicts we are having internally with ourselves, because in Islam, we call that jihad, the spiritual war going on with self. We want to thank our brother. No, go ahead, brother. Finish that point.
You know when they had some brothers that came off the battlefield and they told Prophet Muhammad, Prophet, we just came off the battlefield. We were engaged in jihad. And Prophet Muhammad said, that's the minor jihad. And they was like, what? He said, no, the major jihad is battling.
That's right, my brother. You know, so I want to thank our brother. Listen, we agreed to do an 1.5-hour show, brother Minister Willie, because we want to keep the people hungry. They're used to the 2-hour conflict, the 2-hour podcast, but with an 1.5 hour, we know we'll get them to come back, and we want to invite you back, dear brother, in the future, man. And man, I cannot thank you enough, brother Minister Willie, for sharing with us your time, brother, because I know from just listening to your podcast and listening to other people who have spoke about you, brother, that you're a very busy brother in this work and in this mission. And for many of us, COVID has allowed us to refocus on how we can stay in this work and get at our people. So we thank Allah for podcasts and the internet and Steve Jobs and for what he created that will allow us to get this message out to our people. So, but yes, sir.
We thank you all for what you all are doing, man, because, you know, y'all could have been using this podcast to talk about how great the video with Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion.
That's the next show.
No, sir. No, sir.
We saw the walk.
And
I didn't see.
I'm not saying that's a great video, but you get my
Not
point,
at all,
y'all.
but we get the point. We get that point, brother. But before we go, we're gonna give our brother Ahmed. You got any final word?
Yes, sir, bro, Willie. We thank you for coming on our podcast, and we're always here for you. Anytime you want to give us a call, whenever you need us. If this COVID let up, we're coming down to New Orleans. We're gonna come and get on that front line with you, brother. We're gonna come out there. And
I saw some question about whether sisters can be a part of the conflict resolution meeting.
Yes.
Make sure you get the Robert from Austin on, man. Y'all would like him.
Yeah, we're gonna get that information from you, brother, because I think we want to do a whole panel of in promotion with the 10,000 Fearless and some of the various aspects of the 10,000 Fearless. And we got to have a panel of hosts because we want to deal with different aspects of what will be the driving force behind what makes the 10,000 Fearless work. And conflict resolution definitely has to be a part of that.
And I'm glad you saw that question. I was going to put that out there because we're all here. Some of the sisters think that that's just a men's podcast. So anytime they want to interject, we really welcome them and their questions. So I'm glad you answered that. Thank you, brother.
Yes,
Brother Jackie, you got some closing remarks, brother Jackie?
Great brother Jackie.
You muted, brother Jackie.
No, I just want to thank my brother for his sacrifice in going into the because New Orleans at one point was the murder capital.
Yes, sir.
And your work apparently is getting heard. Maybe even before the murders even take place. Maybe they know. We don't know. Allah puts his power behind work. So we don't know how far it goes, but I want to thank you for your sacrifice, brother, because you put your life in danger when you do that in certain instances. So thank you, brother. Keep up the good work, brother Willie. I support you. I got all your books. I support everything you do, brother. I appreciate you, and definitely come back and see us, brother. Inshallah.
Thank you, brother Jackie. And brother Willie, and I humbly apologize. We should have asked you this.
What's that?
So you do have books because we should have been promoting your books, brother. So please, if you can, tell the people about the books you have because it's very important to all of our listeners. Support the people that come on this podcast. We have many, many people that come on here who have books, who have products and things that will help you in your own and help us. Me, I'm not excluded, but will help us in our personal lives. So, brother Willie, share with us with your information, your contact information in the event people want to get some of your books.
They can go on Amazon.com and type in Willie Muhammad books and they'll see the books. One of my most recent books is for educators. It's a message to first year teachers who want to stay. And I don't know, Amazon is giving me a runaround. We also wrote a book titled Understanding Master Farad Muhammad. And I think that's a must have. So trying to see Amazon saying they got something about public domain. So I'm waiting for them to get a response back. But if they go on the website, if they go on Amazon.com, they can do that. And also visit our website, www.noineworleans.com. We're in the process right now of we're launching an initiative to put an end to our mortgage. We want to have a mortgage burning ceremony. So people find out about that. I'll post it on my page. If believers can share, give whatever they can, man, because we want to, as the Most High Elijah Muhammad said, that debt is slavery, man. We want to get out of that so we can begin to use that funds for different outreach efforts, man. And but the thing I'll say to you all, brothers, keep doing what you all are doing, man, because you're giving people the opportunity. You don't know how these podcasts inspire believers. You're introducing believers to other people, to the wealth of talent that we have in the nation that may not always get known. So keep doing what you're doing, man, and stay together and stay tight as a unit.
Thank you,
sir. I'm gonna save the best for last, brother Kawi. So before brother Kawi, let me share something really quick. that's important. If you would like to get more information on the 10,000 Fearless right here in the city of Atlanta, please call the number on the screen, 678-734-2651. You get more information on the 10,000 Fearless, which is headquartered in Atlanta under the leadership of our brother, student minister Abdul Sharif Muhammad. All right, call that number. Also, sir, what'd you say, Brother Willie?
Say salute to Brother Sharif, brother. Oh my goodness.
Praise be to Allah. And also, COVID-19 shut the brothers down from the corner, but the baddest black newspaper on the planet is still published every single week.
That's right.
So, go to www.finalcalldigital.com to get your e-copy of the Final Call newspaper. That's www.finalcalldigital.com. Be sure to subscribe. Your paper will come to your phone, your iPad, your computer every Tuesday. Be sure to subscribe to the Final Call newspaper. And finally, oh no, not finally, but also you can listen to the Honorable Louis Farrakhan 24 hours a day by simply going to www.finalcallradio.com. Again, that's finalcallradio.com, and you can hear from the Honorable Louis Farrakhan 24 hours a day. And finally, for those of you that believe that what you heard today is the truth and good for us as a people, and you live in Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, and Mississippi, and you want to learn more about the Nation of Islam. And I named those states because these are the states that are part of the southern region. If you want to know more and learn about the Nation of Islam, please call 770-766-2056. Anyone outside of these states, if you would tune in every Sunday morning at 11 o'clock a.m. at www.noi.org and listen to the Sunday lecture live from Chicago. At the end of that lecture, they will give you information on how you can learn more about the Nation of Islam. All right. And if you would like to support our podcast, please do donate $1, donate $5, donate whatever you can. Our podcast cash app is $JAKQBROS. That's Jock Bros. That's
Jock Bros.
Jock Bros. Stands short. That's short for the Jock Brothers. That's us, Jackie, Ahmed, Kadeem, and Kawi. We are the Jock Brothers. That's our cash app. So whatever you want to donate to support, we want to thank you so much for your support in doing that as well. All right. We're going to leave the closing remarks from our brother Kawi, and then we will have our final closing remarks from our guest speaker, Brother Minister Willie Muhammad. Go ahead, Brother Kawi.
To Willie Muhammad, before we started this podcast, I knew nothing of you, sir. But because of this podcast, I had a week to study you, and I am thoroughly impressed with the work you have done, the passion that you show, the commitment that you have in your heart for our people. I completely salute you, brother. And I can't wait to get on the front line with you. I just want you to keep doing what you do. And just know going forward, I'm gonna be looking for you. Whether it's on YouTube, and when I'm in New Orleans, I'm gonna be coming in person.
Come on down.
Thank you for all that you do, sir.
Thank you, man. And when we say all praise is due to Allah, man, you all don't realize you all are a big inspiration for me as well. Man, I'm learning from you all, and I'm happy about the work that you all are doing. Continue to build this podcast, man. Continue to keep coming with good content and continue to expose the world to the talent that's out there in the nation and even outside the nation. As our brother said, it's just not a Nation of Islam podcast. It's for all of our people. So go do the work, man.
Thank you.
Sir. Thank you so much, Brother Willie. And Brother Timothy Horton, I saw your question, but call that number, dear brother, for information on the 10,000 Fearless, dear brother. Thank you, Brother Willie. Words cannot express how honored we are to have you accept our invitation to be our guest. We're truly honored, brother. You know, for all of us, we truly humbly understand our roles in the Nation of Islam. And when we know brothers like yourself and others who have, quote unquote, really made a name for yourself in this work,
And in this mission, we're searching our nation out for brothers and sisters like yourself, brother, that have something to say that will benefit our people, brother. So thank you, thank you, brother. And we will call on you because we want to bring you back. You have a wealth, I mean, from conflict resolution to information on relationships, brother. I've heard you speak on relationships, and we definitely want to do a male-female relationship series, but we want to make it for all of our people, no matter what you call yourself. If you have if you're married and you got a problem, a conflict in your marriage, come get some of this conflict resolution from our brother. And if you're a lost found and you got a girlfriend or a boyfriend, come get some of this conflict resolution. I ain't gonna talk about the believers with a girlfriend and a boyfriend. All right. So thank you, brothers. Tune in next week because next week's show is going to be dedicated to our brother who lost his life, Brother Assad Muhammad.
That's right.
We know that our guest is going to be Brother Minister Darrell Muhammad out of Macon, Georgia. We will have all of Brother Assad's siblings on the show.
Right.
Sister Atala, Sister Nadia, Brother Khalid. And then, of course, we'll have Brother Zario on our show. So next week's show, strictly dedicated to our brother Assad Muhammad. We look forward to all of our viewers. We can't even thank you enough for coming in to help us Let Us Make Man, a very successful podcast. So we want to thank you again for your time, for your attention, and we greet you as we came. Assalamu alaikum.
Right, so.